now. So I'm changing the cameras as we speak, and you're gonna see it over there, but you won't see it there for that 15 or 20-second delay,
Oh, I see what you're
right?
saying. Okay, so it'll relay, but it's going to be on a delay on that one.
Right, which kind of sucks, and it's a pretty long delay as we can see here. Right, that was like a good 20, 30 seconds.
Boy, sweatshirt makes you look like really big, like baggy. What the?
uh, but now we don't have the three screens at once. Right. We
So is
have,
that a good thing or a bad thing?
well, in my opinion, it's a good thing because we have, I'll be talking. It'll be right on me. You can see it over there. Look over there once, Tim. It'll be right on me, which I almost think we should get like better, more zoomed in views. But then when you start talking,
How come I'm hearing echo though? That's coming through one of these things.
oh, it's probably my computer over there. I should turn it off.
Yeah, because I completely. Do you hear the echo or no? Is this thing all recording now? Are we good?
We're on. Yeah, we're on live. But we're going to get this straightened out and everything set before we start talking. Because there's really, really no one watching us. I know one friend of mine is going to be watching tonight. So
Oh,
that's
is he?
cool. Yeah. So, as like right now, I can just flip the cameras to whatever. So, right now it's on me. I can flip it to both of us, and I can flip it to you when you're talking. So we
Nice.
get our individual cams, and then we got the dual cam.
Okay.
And then in the future, which will be, I'm not sure how we'll end up doing this yet, but there's another view where I can share my desktop with the audience, just if we pull up news articles or whatever.
I see what you're saying. Now, what about people calling in?
I mean, we can do that too. And I have a live chat going on over here too, which hopefully, if anyone does come and chat, we can see.
Sweet.
Right now, we are streaming on Twitch. We're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on Facebook. And we're streaming on X.
Dang, so this is all over the place. Right
All
now.
5 different channels.
Okay.
Right? And YouTube is at Roger That 321. On Rumble, you can find us at Roger That. On Facebook, I actually have it streaming to one of my shell company Facebook pages.
Okay.
It's called Jewel Tech, but it's JWLTEK. So if anybody's out there on Facebook and want to watch live, it's JWLTEK. You can search for that. And then on X, it's actually streaming to my personal account on X, which is like a Jewel. It's like at a Jewel, I think it is. But it's all over the place. The platform that I'm setting this up with the streaming with has been super, super nice and it's pretty
Excellent.
intuitive and easy. So, and I still got to figure out, make sure I'm doing these cameras properly. This is probably going to be a little tricky, but we'll see how it goes. So, what'd you think of the first one?
Fantastic. Watched it probably 3 or 4 times in bits and pieces over the course of the weekend. Yeah, it was great to kind of just see it play out. I can't believe we actually went on for what, hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, something of that
It was
sort.
a while.
So that was fun. And in between that, I actually caught up on an old '80s karate movie. I don't know if you're into that stuff, but Bloodsport was on this weekend, so I had to actually hit pause on that and catch up on my
Bloodsport.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Nice.
Shout out to Jean-Claude Van Damme. And who can forget Chuck Norris, even though he's not in the movie? But all those karate heroes from the '80s—they're just too good to not watch.
That's the dude. Bloodsport, the end, is the one with the Asian guy with like the huge chest, right?
Yeah, totally. I think there was some roids in some of these people, but yeah, that's Chong Li is the character,
Okay.
and his real name is Bolo Young, who, oddly enough, much like Jean-Claude Van Damme, was very much a well-decorated martial artist, ninjutsu among other things. But they did fight, in that movie, and those guys are, yeah, they're legit.
Nice. Nice.
You know that movie's based on a real person, right?
Is it? I
Frank
didn't know that.
Frank Dukes.
Frank Dukes.
Yeah, look him up. So I know we want to jump in all this other stuff, but yeah, Frank Dukes was big between like 1975, 1980, underground, unsanctioned type fighting, and it's that whole kumite, which is apparently a legit thing. You often wonder, well, if it was so legit, how was it not just ratted out? But it was all that underground, a lot of betting, and these were guys who just fought to the death, if you will. Somebody had to get knocked out, somebody had to go. And
Was
Frank,
it literally to the death?
I mean, people apparently have died in the Kumite type fighting. And I'm sure there are people, if they even listen in, they might have their own opinion or even think, like, well, they know more about it. I'm no expert. But Frank Dukes does hold, evidently, a number of records in the Kumite. And his fighting streak was almost endless for a number of years. And on top of it, fastest knockout, 0.12 seconds. Fastest kick in a knockout, 72 miles an hour on a kick.
Wow.
Which I don't know how you would measure that, but
Right.
evidently he holds a number of records. And yeah, that's why the movie is or was made.
Interesting.
So,
I knew nothing about that.
yeah, shout out to Frank Dukes.
Is he still alive?
What's that?
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he is actually. Frank Dukes is still alive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Whether or not he, again,
We should have him on the show.
maybe we should. I would actually like to meet the guy and actually see if he's legitimately holding all these apparent records, because again, this was unsanctioned type fighting, and without sanctioned fighting, how do you actually validate,
Right.
like you would in boxing or mixed martial arts or anything else?
Well, if you're listening out there,
Frank
you're
Dukes.
welcome to, you're welcome to join the show. Tim wants to take you on.
No,
One-on-one.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. Well, any other feedback from anybody that you heard?
No. I mean, like I said, shared it with a couple friends, and they got a kick out of it. They were intrigued, to say the least, asking, what else am I doing with my time? I must be bored. I'm like, this is not boredom. This is actually fun to sit and chill with a cool friend and neighbor and talk about just what's going on. And I don't see how that's any different than just picking up the phone and calling any friend, I guess. So why not do it in front of a couple microphones and cameras?
Yeah, that's very true. And I will say we were texting about this earlier today, but this has been the most fun thing that I've done in quite some time. And I had fun doing it Thursday. I thought, I thought we were just gonna bomb and do like a completely shit job, but I
And not know
actually
what to
thought it
say.
was like okay, yeah. I actually thought it was okay. Although the audio sucked, I know. Thankfully, I hope we have that fixed tonight. If there is anyone viewing us out there right now that can confirm if the audio is good, type it in the chat. Give me a 1 if the audio is good. Give me a 2 if the audio is bad. We can make adjustments along the way, as long as we have somebody watching and giving us some feedback.
Lord knows our looks aren't good enough for TV, but maybe our voices are.
Well, that's true. That's true. By the way, my daughter and I are singing a duet soon.
Really?
Yes.
Going platinum?
Exactly.
Just laying tracks?
Yeah. So,
When's the mixtape coming out?
well, it was supposed to be the end of April, but I think we have to push it to the end of May now. But if you and the fam want to come and see me and her sing some from some Frankie, come
I
on.
actually would be down for something like that. And I will say, your daughter, whenever she's over, she hums a
Oh,
lot,
yeah.
and she hums like it's very melodious. It's pleasant sounding, and I tell her all the time. I say, just keep going. And I mean, I can't duplicate it, but she really has some sort of knack. She really does.
Her teacher says that she's doing like college level trainings for voice.
That's
So
super
I don't-
super awesome.
I think that's probably
Oh, a
overstating
stretch?
it a little bit,
Oh, okay.
But I mean, she's fairly good, so I'm happy about it. And to sing with her is actually pretty fun.
Hey,
So,
that's awesome, man.
yeah,
Good for her too.
yeah, it's cool. She's in so much stuff right now; it's hard to keep track.
Well, let me know when I can buy the cassette, okay?
I will. It's $5 to enter.
Excellent, man. Out the back of the trunk.
Yes. Cool. All right. Well, I'm just gonna keep monitoring my chat over here, switching between cams. Hopefully that works out okay. What I'd really like, just before we really get into things, it'd be cool if we could find somebody that would want to come and do this with us and almost be like our producer and switch between cameras, so I don't have to talk. Switch between cameras and monitor chat all at the same time. But again, this is only our second
True.
one. We'll grow.
And maybe whoever that applicant is, I mean, it might be a thankless job, but hey, it'd be fun, right?
You could be on a cam too. We
Exactly.
Have a cam on you. You could be part of
See?
the conversation. I tried to get my wife to do it, but she'd rather read.
It's like those HOA jobs are thankless, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I don't know. I did get a pool built, so
You got a what? Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did.
yeah.
See, so you were both judge and jury.
that's right. That's how it worked out. If you want something done in our HOA, join the board. That's the only way it happens. But okay, cool. Well, let's get into this just for the audience's understanding. Tim and I, we did some texting back and forth between the last couple days and thought, how do we make this go a little bit better and flow a little bit better and be a little bit more engaging? And so we decided that we just, keep a list of like running topics that we could have, just so we're both prepared to speak to all the topics. And we'll probably hit some of those, and I'm sure we'll bring up others along the way as well. But I'll start it out just with, current events and what's absolutely brand new today that I'm sure you're very well aware of, Tim, and that is Trump's bond.
Oh,
Now, going from what, $464 million,
454, but who's counting?
Okay,
It's a rounding error.
down to 175 million
Yeah,
and 10 days to make the payment,
that's a haircut.
right?
I mean, they gave him a discount, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they stretched his payment plan.
I mean, what did you think about that altogether, Tim?
I got to give credit to the appellate court for at least coming through and doing a solid. Still, 175 is a lot of dough. 10 days, better than 4. So, good day for Trump in that regard. Still stinks he's got to somehow cough up this money or come up with a bond for it. But, hey, you know what? Things just work out because his stock, his holdings, in truth, and that holding company, that just shot up a cool 30-some% today.
What'd they say that was going to be? That Truth was going to come out being worth 2 or 4 billion or something, wasn't it?
Well, something of the sort. I mean, his holdings were just over $3 billion. So with that increase today on paper, he made a cool $1 billion on paper. Not a bad day at the office.
Yeah,
I
no
mean, not
kidding.
as much as what I make, but still not a bad day at the office.
I mean, that entire trial is a sham.
The whole
complete
thing.
sham.
Completely. It's a hit job. And then again, they just weaponize every bit of, whether it's the AG, the DA, you've got DOJ in on. I mean, every single one of them from
Yeah.
the top down. We've talked about this, but yeah, we could always talk about it.
Well, and I would say, blatantly, shame on the Democrats for doing this to Trump this
Completely.
year. I mean,
It's their only way to win.
the genie's out of the bottle.
Oh, God.
Right?
It's
I mean,
been out the bottle.
This is going to go on now every election.
Yeah, it's just what they do. It's political hit job, one after the next. Kind of old banana republic style.
Well,
you just
sure,
go
but
after your opponents.
this is the first time that they're actually, bringing a former president to the stand and indicting him on, 7,000 different claims.
Yeah.
But it seems as though the genie's out of the bottle now, man. We got this far. It's going to happen every election hereafter. I truly wonder if Trump gets into office, if the Republicans will try to do the same thing to Biden or their next political opponent, whoever it may be. I mean, this is a snowball. Once this gets started, it doesn't stop.
If I was, let's say I'm Donald Trump, and fortunately, I'm going to go with the narrative that he gets reelected here. You go after the Bidens. I mean, look, you got an old frail man who's probably going to pass in a few years. You got a son who's basically former crackhead and whatever else he's got issues going on. To go after the family, I think would just be political, cheap shots. As much as I'd like him to do it, I would, if I was Trump, try to dismantle all the crap behind the scenes. I'd have heads rolling out the door in every single department. That's what I would be doing. Restructure it from the ground up.
Drain the swamp.
As much as one could. Every appellate court, every circuit court, anybody that is tied to any liberal control within that process and system, I would break it in half and then I'd put it down the toilet.
Yeah, you got to wonder what this presidency will be like if he does win again, which I will make a bet right now that he does not win this presidency. I think Joe Biden is going to win again.
You do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm leaving the show, man.
Let me tell you why, though. all the reasons that Joe Biden apparently won in the last go around, mail-in, ballot harvesting,
Canvassing for votes.
etc., etc.
Yeah.
None of those laws in those states have been changed.
This is true.
What's so if all the same tactics are in place, you have the same voters essentially. People know if they're going to vote for Biden or Trump, right? Why do you think there's going to be a different outcome?
Gut and faith. That's really about it. I have no real poll to point at. Granted, anybody could point at a poll at any given time. Polls are polls, and even
He's
a poll.
killing it in the polls right now.
Oh, totally. And even a poll the night before the election is not indicative of any forthcoming victory or loss, for that matter. You have certainly swing states, and really within those swing states, it's only going to come down to really about a dozen counties in the country. When you think about it, right. I mean, most of the states are baked. I mean, you can take the chunk of the middle of the U.S. and majority of it's going to go red. You can take the margins on the coastal areas, with the exception of Texas and Florida, and they're going to go Democrat. It's just pretty much how it goes. But as for the Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada's probably on that list too. North Carolina, probably Minnesota, Georgia. These are the ones that dictate it, and within them, it's only going to be one or two counties each. That's it. But I like his odds because for every vote that had gone for Biden in the past, if that person even sits at home or decides to switch, that's a +2. I'm going with intuition. I'm going with there's a groundswell. I'm going with a number of factors. But again, that's just me having faith.
Right. I think that Trump's probably not going to lose any votes. That's for sure.
Oh, he's not losing any votes.
I mean, it's going to come down to the independents.
What about RFK, though? Does he disrupt this thing?
Good question.
They're literally trying to keep him off the ballot. He's an annoyance. He's like that gnat that just keeps, they're trying to swat him away. They can't get rid of him.
What day is he supposed to pick his running mate? Isn't that supposed to happen this week? Is that tomorrow?
I'm guessing any day. I know he's been talking about for the last 3 weeks.
It's going to be A-Rod.
I think it might be you. You think it's be Aaron Rodgers is not going to accept it. I think he would be flattered and would be one to be gracious in wanting to be that person, but I can't see him doing that. You do?
I would not vote an A-Rod ticket.
Well, neither would I.
Yeah, so I don't think it would be. But I thought that was pretty funny when it first came out.
Well, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I know we talked about it last time. I've liked him for certain reasons. I think he's kind of an odd dude for a number of others. The one thing I've always liked about him is he really just goes with the beat of his own drum. He's sort of counterculture. He doesn't, he doesn't fit into any category. He's just him. And I think we talked about that too. How you got like divisions in society and subdivisions and so forth. He's just a guy who has a wide variety of beliefs, and probably none of them make sense to most people because they conflict.
Head. Yeah, I think he has a big head too.
He does, yeah. I'm just glad he's out of Green Bay.
Same.
Shout out to Jordan Love.
Same here.
Number 10. 50 touchdowns next year.
For sure. But Rodgers, thank you for everything you did in Green Bay.
Yes, you got us one title. Should have been 3.
All right, well.
Still love you, though.
Getting back to the topic, I'm glad that this got lessened to the $175 million.
Yeah.
Hopefully that won't be a problem for Trump. I don't think it will. I think he'll get past it.
He had one word today, how he's going to pay for it. He said cash. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't.
He was at the press conference. It was great. I mean, obviously he went up there and did his thing, and a little bit of a showman as always. Shot down a couple reporters because most of these reporters are just a bunch of, noodle necks, pencil necks, whatever. They're just clowns at the end of the day. And well, how are you going to come up with the money? Cash.
I like it.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Good stuff.
Cool. Well, Tim, what topic you want to jump to?
Man, we got a whole bunch of them. I know we were throwing them back and forth even just this last few days, and we could do the philosophy thing if you want. It's your call, man.
No, let's get into that because that might be interesting to some. I mean, it's interesting to me, that's for sure. We were talking about current events, politics, everything else under the sun on this podcast, and philosophy is going to be something that I think is incredibly interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
Some of those really, really big questions in life, some of the smaller ones.
And frankly, it intertwines with human nature and behavior
And
and
politics,
politics and
current
everything
events.
else.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of the questions we were thinking about, age-old question, does go back to biblical times. Not trying to convince anybody of any religion here. That's not it. But think about it for a second. Do we, as individuals, have free will? It's a yes or no. And if so, can you explain the answer? But you got to give that some thought. Adam?
Yeah, I saw this and I was like, oh, we want to go into a question like that. That's a big, big topic right there. We could sit and talk for hours, probably, just about free will.
Sure.
Right. And the hard part about these topics, hard and interesting at the same time, I would say, is that, there is no right answer, right? There's not going to be a right answer from either one of us, right? So
True.
it's, something that I went and did some research on, right? And I wanted to be, informed, and take an opinion as to what I think. And in doing some research and looking at the different types of questions, looking at the different types of philosophies and answers for these, one of the people that popped out was John Locke, right? And he had it was called I think I'm saying this correctly, tabula rasa, or aka blank slate, right?
Okay.
Where humans are born as a blank slate, and all of their decisions, all of their morality is learned and gained from experience living. And that being said, you know, we talked good versus bad. That's one thing. And then there's the free will aspect, right? And I think they kind of both intertwine. So I think we'll talk about both of them today.
That's why both questions, yeah.
Right. But in terms of, if we want to go free will first, there's really three ways to think about it. Would you consider it three ways? Determinism, indeterminism, and then just the concept of free will. Is it even really a concept? Right. Would you agree with those three paths?
I do not,
Okay.
only in the sense that I've looked at free will as being strictly, it is a concept, it's an idea, it's almost a mirage, it's not real. Free will, the idea sounds on paper like achievable or something that one could acquire or maybe has just from the jump. But I've always looked back at free will as we have will, but not free will. And what I mean by that is we are bound by two very distinct things, and that is conscience and circumstance. So, for example, one can have terrible thoughts or very good thoughts or whatever the case may be, but they can't take action on it because they're bound by, again, their conscience and their circumstance. Even something so simple like I wake up in the morning and I say to myself, I really want avocado toast. But I have no avocados in the house. Maybe I have no bread in the house. Maybe the grocery store is 30 minutes away. I don't have time to go to the grocery store. I am bound by my circumstance, so I can't have avocado toast. And one might argue, well, financial freedom gives you free will, but even then still, you're always bound by your conscience, and that's your moral compass. What's right, what's wrong, what's correct, what's just. Make a little sense?
It does. The question that I would go back to, though, with the free will is just, do you have the ability to choose? I mean, that's the main question there, right? And
you do, but you're bound by by your conscience and your circumstance. No?
So let's do a little thought experiment.
Let's do it.
All right, this is one that I looked up. It's actually called, I think I'm saying this right, but Buridan's ass. Buridan's ass.
Okay.
Right.
Not familiar with Buridan's ass.
And this thought experiment is, imagine a donkey.
Okay.
There's a bale of hay on one side of the donkey.
Okay.
A bale of hay on the other side of the donkey. It's the exact same bale of hay. Everything's identical, same distance, same flavor, same smell. Absolutely everything about the hay on each side is identical, right? Which hay is the donkey going to go and eat?
It's an unknown. But it's their choice.
Is it? I mean, which hay will the donkey go and eat, and why? Right? If you'd have to say, you'd almost have to say, if there is no choice, the donkey's going to starve. If the
That's
donkey
just-
doesn't have the ability to choose, the donkey is going to starve and die.
That's circumstance. So free will's out the window. No?
Well, you get into there must be a choice or else death, right?
Okay.
So then how do you choose between two things that are identical, and why? I mean, there is no right answer to this. This is a thought experiment.
True.
Right?
How often in life are we faced with two identical choices?
I'm not sure that question matters. I mean, these are theoreticals, right?
Totally theoretical.
Right.
But then I always wonder, does theory even play out in life? Or is it just theory?
Well, let's, in the same vein as free will, can we jump back and forth between free will and good versus bad?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So the other question that Tim had brought up that I thought was super interesting too is, essentially, are humans born good,
but do bad things, or born bad but do good things?
Okay. Second thought experiment, right? You're living in a post-apocalyptic world.
Okay.
Right? You've been on your own now for 2 years. You have enough food on you to keep that you're fine.
Even avocado toast?
Even avocado
Okay,
toast. You are armed. You essentially have everything that you currently need in terms of needs. But you're out in the woods. You're by yourself. You've been that way for 2 or 3 years. You don't know if the next person you encounter is going to be friend or foe. You don't know if they're going to want to kill you immediately, or if they're going to want to make friends or trade or try to help you.
Okay.
You haven't seen anyone in 2 or 3 years, right?
All right.
And in the distance, you see someone that's almost a mirror reflection of you. Same thing. You see a human finally. That human, you can see that they're armed. You can see that they have a bag full of what looks like rations. They're basically just like you, right? And at the same distance, there's a lion, right? What are you going to do? What do you think will play out? There's a lion that's hungry.
Right.
A lion that's hungry to, eat, kill people.
That's their nature.
That's their nature. There's you, who hasn't seen anyone for 2 or 3 years. You're armed, you have food, you have what you need. And then there's another person that you see. First time you see somebody in 2 or 3 years. But again, you don't know if they're friend. You don't know if they're foe. You don't know if they're immediately going to want to kill you. What do you do? What's going to happen between the three?
Well, it's survival of the fittest, is it not?
Explain.
So you either defend yourself against the lion, right?
Right.
Or you find yourself perhaps in a death match with this individual. Yes.
Or you find yourself
So
in a death
death
match
match
with both.
With both.
Or there's other options as well.
Which you could just walk away. Perhaps.
That could be one option. Yes.
So I still go back to circumstance and conscience. If your conscience dictates to not approach this other individual because it could lead to violence, and that's something you're just not for, your conscience rules the day. Your circumstance, however, is going to be in a wage of war internally to tell you one of two things. Either I run and seek shelter, or perhaps I duel it out with ever which one is after me. What you don't have the option of is hopping in a Learjet and flying away. So you're bound by your circumstance
Right.
always. Your options are limited
Agree.
in any given point in time,
So let's
good
make
or
this
bad.
let's make this even harder,
Okay.
right? And go, you don't have the option to run.
Okay.
You don't have the option to just back away and avoid confrontation.
So I have to face this challenge head on.
Yes.
No options. Okay. What does one do?
What do you, not even just you, right? It can be other humans that you're thinking about in this
Yeah.
scenario, but what do you think will occur? 2 men, 1 lion. The other guy's probably thinking the same thing.
Well, if there's if the two humans have any brain function left, they join forces to slaughter the lion.
Right.
That's what you do.
Right.
Hopefully it's not every man for himself after that. But at least you team up and take out one of the villains or one of the threats and neutralize the situation.
And well, I bring this thought up just because doesn't that show that doesn't that show the good being brought out in people working together to achieve a goal?
I would say without a doubt it does so. It also goes back to, and we're going to get into this good, born good, do bad, born bad, do good. That is not maybe easy for most people to do, though. The team up piece, whether it's in the scenario of the 2 men and the lion or in everyday circumstances, it's very hard to do the right thing. It's easy to attack. It's easy to go after, be violent, visceral reactions. It's a lot more effort, and it takes your conscience to actually want to make that effort to do right.
Well, I think about that in the
Some might just resort and, hey, I'm going to slaughter the lion, I'm going to go after the guy, do whatever I can, I'm just going to get rid of both. But most still bound by some element of conscience.
yeah, I wonder almost if the example that I lay out is not the best example because there's a survival element to it. Right? But then again, there's survival elements to
There's
everything.
every day.
Right?
Every day. You know, I'm just trying to survive the lions at Sendix half the time. So anyway. But no, seriously, I mean, every day is some component of we all try to get ahead, do better than our last day, right? We try to do better personally, not just for gain. That's not it, but hopefully most people try to be a better version of themselves. And over time, life lessons, right? You just brought that up, right? Blank slate. It's your learnings that maybe by the time you're 50, 60, maybe 80 or 90, that's where wisdom kicks in because you've had the experiences and you've lived. Yes, no?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the question of born good and do bad things, or the opposite. My philosophy is that people are born good and do bad things, right?
Okay.
And the lion example that I was, just using is your instinct. I think nearly anyone's instinct would be 2 humans are together and let's team up and let's try to overcome an obstacle. And I think that's a very good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think a bad reaction immediately would be caring only of yourself and
Correct.
wanting to kill both the human and the lion at the same time, and because of that dying,
Correct.
right? Whereas,
But it's easy to be bad.
it's very easy.
It's
to do
so easy. It's so easy in life.
that.
So you go with the notion that people are born good but do bad things.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But I do believe that. Well, there's a second part of this, right? Where religiously,
Yeah.
you can say everyone is born bad. We're all born sinners.
I was just going to go with that. That's why that's part of my argument, but go on.
Right. I mean, we're all born sinners.
Yeah.
And the only person that, is pure and is always good is, in Christianity at least, is Jesus, right?
True. He did walk on water.
He did. He did. But that isn't to say that, everyone is born with pure evil intentions.
No, they're not. I don't think people are born with pure evil intentions. Oddly, I go the opposite way on this one. I think people are just born bad, but we do good things. Aside from the notion, if you believe that you're born with natural sin, which I do, I think, Adam, you probably do as well,
Yep.
that component to it, you're going to sin, whether it's with intent or by accident. It's just inevitable, right? And some more than others. The thing that I often go with, though, is people, especially, it seems like nowadays more than ever. I mean, granted we weren't around in the 50s or the 20s or even the 1800s, and I'm sure there was all nefarious people back then too, and bad people, but it seems like more so nowadays it's a lot of everybody's out for themselves, and it's very easy to have visceral reactions. It's very easy to hate. It's very easy to, take violence against somebody. I mean, we see it all the time in the news, for God's sakes. And that controlling piece is something that just doesn't seem to get reined in. It's very difficult for people to try and do good. It's funny because, not that I'm an avid churchgoer, I go once in a while, but I always kind of laugh at the people that sit in the pews and they doze off, It's like you can tell they're just going through the motions. I'd be willing to bet the minute they leave the parking lot, if somebody cuts them off on the road, it's fuck you, man. It's like, wait a minute, you just left church. Wait a minute, what am I missing here? But again, you've got a lot of people, for the most part, I think, in society. I mean, it's hard to not lie. It's hard to tell the truth. And it's very difficult to do the right thing. More and more people don't do the right thing. Case in point, somebody's getting beat up. What's the first thing people want to do? They get out their stupid phones and record it, and some even laugh. They take pleasure. They get their rocks off on this stuff. And I think to myself, have you no conscience? Have you no interest in helping or doing the right thing? But like I say, more and more it just seems to be the case. It's very difficult for people to just do the right thing. That's why we're born bad, but do good things, because it takes a real effort.
Yeah. I can definitely see that side of it. I mean, there's people that I know that don't go to church specifically because they think everyone there are hypocrites. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not an avid goer. Do you go? How often do you go? Probably regularly? No?
No, we don't go regularly.
Okay.
We go holidays and then sometimes in between.
Yeah.
I mean, our kids go to a private Lutheran school, and so they go to church and chapel every week, just even in school.
There you go.
Which I think is actually absolutely great for them growing up.
It's healthy.
It's very, very healthy. It's great values. We don't go to church every week. I'm not a huge believer in organized religion.
Bingo. Same here, and especially with this Pope.
Yeah,
I don't like the guy. He's an activist, woke.
Yeah, I mean,
He is a woke activist. Honestly, go on though, Adam.
I don't follow that much about the Pope, so I can't.
Preach, brother.
I can't comment on him. But from everything that I've read in the Bible and Jesus's words and teachings, etc., etc., nowhere did I ever read anything about going to church every Sunday.
I would say yes to that one too.
And if there are people out there that can point me to that, I'm more than happy to read it, and I welcome it. And one of my buddies that I know at some point is going to be watching tonight is someone who has a ton of faith, right? And I don't know if he goes to church. I would assume he goes to church every week. I don't know, but he is a great, great friend of mine. You talk about good versus bad. This guy's pure, incredibly good, awesome friend.
Almost walks on water.
Almost.
At least if it's frozen.
He's just a downright really, really good guy.
Yeah.
But I wonder what his point of view on this is. And if you're watching out there, man, if you're watching out there, drop a comment in here for us. But organized religion, not a fan of.
Yeah, me as well. I'm not saying that, in the case of the Catholic Church or pick anyone for that matter, but we'll use the example of the Catholic Church. I mean, it was only, 60 years ago, most masses where the priest would actually have his back turned to the parish and everything would be in Latin. I mean, really, really traditional ways. But organized religion in general has morphed, especially on the Catholic side of things. Not a big fan of the Pope. Like I said, I think he's just nothing more than an activist at this point, and he's doing the bidding of other, liberal tendencies and whatnot for society. But it's sort of, at least with the archdiocese, I've always wondered, is this just a big old business, and that's really all it is.
Right.
And you can't tell me that you need to walk in the doors of a church every Sunday just to go to heaven. I mean, that's something too I've often wondered, like what if you're a really good person? I think of my grandfather. The guy lived to be about 90 years old and salt of the earth. Like this guy would literally give the shirt off his back and then he'd go buy you a shirt if you needed another one. I mean, this guy, he was like literally just so nice and never tried to scam anybody, wasn't mean to people. I mean, he just gave and gave and gave and gave. And he actually kind of poked fun at the whole thing of going to church. He thought it was kind of silly, all about that stuff. Do you believe is what he joked about. But I always would think to myself when he passed, you can't tell me this guy's not going to heaven. He was as good as it gets,
Right.
And that's why I wonder. But then you get the people that go through the motions, right? Hey, I'm there every Sunday, so I'm better than you. But are you really? Do you see where I'm going with it?
I know people exactly like that. Yeah, I mean, I think we all probably know people exactly like that, where you see them going to church every week, but they're the most evil, awful people that you know.
Hey, I'll tell you something sacrilegious. I was in a mass once a long time ago. There was a husband and wife up there. Basically, you could call it bragging of sorts, how much they donated per month because they were trying to encourage the other parishioners to donate more. First off, it is like wildly out of bounds to ever broadcast what you give.
Sure.
Just in general. I mean, if you're somebody who donates, great. $10, 1,000, a million, whatever. It, especially within the walls of a church, you just don't do that. And I thought to myself, this is a joke. Like, this is a joke.
I like the Jewish style of doing that. Isn't it like you give?
Which is how?
I think it's like you give 10% of your earnings.
Well, they tithe, yeah. 10. Right. Catholic does the same. I mean, they recommend 10%.
Yeah, isn't it more standard in Judaism?
No clue.
But they just say, like, that's what you're expected to give is 10% of your earnings to the church, and it goes towards good things, which I like that a little bit more than the way that Christians / Catholics, Lutherans do it.
Well, the archdioceses, and they're a bunch of land barons. I mean, it's amazing how much real estate they own around. I mean, they own some of the property right next to the OAW.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that big parcel land. I mean, who would think? But the archdiocese owns that among other parcels here in New Berlin. Yeah, and that's just little New Berlin. Imagine elsewhere. Yeah. Anyway,
the organized religion thing, though, too. I have to say this. I love the school and the church that my daughter goes to. It's absolutely amazing. The one thing I'll say is I grew up being a Catholic, or I grew up as a Catholic, and this is a Lutheran school. The one thing I didn't, that I now know about Lutherans, I didn't know when I was growing up, is like every mass is almost uncomfortable because they talk so much about how much you're a sinner and how bad you are and how if you do X, Y, Z, you're going to hell.
So it makes
you
feel
very
bad.
Blatant. Yeah.
So basically, God-fearing.
It is, absolutely.
They scare you. They scare the poop out of you.
Yes.
All right.
And I've heard multiple people say that about the church that we go to, too. And, like I said, I love all the people. I love the church. I love the community. I think it's all great, but the masses are like, ugh.
Okay, I guess I don't really stand a chance.
Yeah, I know. But, yeah, great school, though, overall. I still absolutely love it.
How's that time looking?
Oh, good. Sorry, I thought we were getting a DM here, but it was for something else completely.
Is that your Zumba class for the morning? Is that what you got?
No, I'm selling something on Facebook actually, and some guy just said, "Would you ship it?" That's all I said. It's a $30 thing that my dad has. I'm not gonna ship a $30 thing. I'm sure he's
I
just
wouldn't do that
trying
either.
to scam me.
Probably.
Yeah, that's just the way it goes.
Where is he?
Who knows?
London?
Yeah, probably. And he'll probably give me $50 to first, some ridiculous thing. But yeah, so I mean, bring it back. Let's bring it back to the free will.
Yeah, free will. Like I say, I mean, there's no right answers. I know we've kind of crossed over on a couple parallels, even though it's an oxymoron, but still, I stand by free will is just more of a mirage. It's an idea, it's a concept, it's not attainable, and it's not something that we're just given either.
I'm a big believer in the simulation theory.
Okay, walk me through this one.
Have you heard?
Can't say I have. Get an education here tonight,
I mean,
folks.
it's very much just like The Matrix, the movie The Matrix.
Yeah, red pill, blue pill. All right.
Right, where, I mean, technology is going to grow, and even our technology will grow
yeah.
to the point that we can simulate the entire Earth, all humans within, all consciousness, all, down to an atomic level. This can be simulated.
Honestly, I don't even want to be around for that. I don't want to be around.
It's coming.
I think it's scary.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's downright scary because you're basically playing God.
It's coming. It's going to come very, very soon. Even when you talk about artificial intelligence, AGI, super intelligence,
Yeah.
it's coming, and it's coming quickly.
I mean, I got spooked even just reading that article on NVIDIA with their robots.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like Terminator stuff.
Oh,
It
yeah.
really spooks the hell out of me. And I think to myself, I mean, look, I get technology has helped in immense ways. It's almost, you can't even quantify it, especially in the last 50 years. You could look at the last 20 years even since the iPhone came out, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? But that to me is just spooky.
Yeah.
Because what are they going to do with this stuff?
Well,
That's the thing.
So simulation theory, right, is just that, where we are living in a simulated world, right, by another, well, it doesn't even have to be another species, but a level above us, and potentially a level above us, and a level above them, and and so on and so on and so on. And the theory kind of goes, and I'm gonna screw this up. I know I'm gonna screw it up. I always do. But the gentleman that really brought this theory forward said, like, there's 3 paths that humans can take. And I think it is, number 1, we can develop technology and never use it to the point of simulating something like what we are in.
Okay.
We can not make it to the point of developing that technology and, blow ourselves up, right?
Okay.
Or nuclear explosions, whatever it may be. And then there is, we develop the technology, we deploy it, and we are simulations within simulations within simulations. There's only those 3 paths, right? There's no other paths. There's those 3. There's no other circumstances.
No
right?
free will.
Well, no, I mean, not even the free will
I know what
part,
you
right? But like, we kill ourselves before we reach it. We reach it and we don't do anything with it, which is probably not probable, right? Or we reach it and we're a simulation. And in my own opinion, I would say, I would think that we are a simulation. I mean, that we are probably computers, bits, whatever it may be, in someone else's simulation. And maybe there's a simulation above that. I mean, when you think of those 3 scenarios, what are you left with?
I'm not sure what to say on that. I really don't. Because the idea, again, it spooks me.
Yeah. And I mean, even free will could...
So does that mean if we're just a simulation where there's no God? Is that what this individual goes with?
I don't know his religious stance on it.
Religious or not, I mean, does he have... Yeah, and that's the thing,
Well, there's
too.
a creator.
That's what I'm saying.
So in that circumstance, Is there a God? Well, yes, God is the creator, right?
So he just made us to watch us run around and act stupid and silly and do podcasts.
Or simulate something for him.
Boy, man, then what about having a soul? If you believe you have a soul. Some people don't even believe there's such thing as a soul.
What is a soul?
Yeah, that goes back to, boy, I had a philosophy class a long time ago, and I remember the professor walked in. This guy was a total clown, by the way. I think he knew Moses because he was so old. And he walked in with his attaché, and he slams it on the desk. This is freshman year, by the way. And he digs in, and we didn't know what he was wrestling for. And he's looking at the class. He's just staring at us. And this goes on for almost a minute because I'm watching the clock. And he hasn't said a word. First day of class. I mean, clearly this is kind of his shtick. And all of a sudden he pulls a pen out. And he holds the pen really, really high.
Sell me this pen.
No. Because I would have done that probably in about 30 seconds. But he's holding this pen high. And everyone's staring at me. He's still just staring at the class. This goes on for about another minute or two. Dead silence. And then he says, "Does the pen have a soul?" Now, the immediate answer I thought on that one was, no, you dumb mother effer. There's no pen doesn't have a soul. It's an inanimate object. How are you going to do that? How are you going to argue that one? But I, of course, stuck with that same answer for the most part. A little more eloquent when I had to write the report, or at least my essay. But either way, do people have a soul? Do they? And that's a matter of faith. That's got nothing to do so much with religion, because religion and faith are two separate things. You can't conflate the two, or at least you shouldn't. But do you have a soul? You either believe or you don't. It's predicated maybe on religious beliefs, but it's a faith factor.
Yeah, I jump back and forth on an answer like that in between science and religion.
Yeah.
Right, because I very much do think that we are a collection of atoms. We are a collection of electrical forces. Things firing off in our brains, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, I do believe that there is a higher power. I do believe that there's a creator.
Yeah.
So do we have a soul? I would say, my answer to that is yes. But that's based primarily in my upbringing, my religious upbringing throughout the years, right?
Yeah, because he does come back to judge the living and the dead.
That
and his
is very
kingdom will
true.
have no end. Because it's a simulation.
Because it's a simulation. And he will bring you back again to do the same thing.
Now that's some deep stuff, because I have wondered, if you screw up in your life, whatever it is you failed at, you didn't do correct in his eyes, you basically have to repeat all over again. Your soul comes back, totally different person perhaps, but it's the same soul. I know we could talk about this probably at length, but I've always wondered, if you don't make it to heaven, is really earth hell? And you're stuck here again to live another life and do it all over. And hopefully you get it right.
I hope not, because then I'm here forever.
Literally, that's the kind of stuff I've always wondered about. Anyways, sorry to make all you depressed out there. What do you think about that one, though, Adam?
Yeah, that's more of like the Eastern, Indian philosophies on rebirth, right?
Is it? I'm not too familiar, but it sounds like maybe you know a little bit. Yes.
Well, I'm just thinking more about, you continue living lives after your death, right? It never ends, right? And that's more of the Eastern philosophy than the Western. Right? The Western is, you go to heaven or you go to hell, right? And the Bible outlines that. If you ask your question to somebody that is very religious, I would assume they'd say that doesn't happen. It clearly states in the Bible you go one of two places, and earth is not hell.
Correct. And then it's funny, because I've met other people too who are just very, very, religious, and just by the book, and they're of the belief, everybody goes to heaven, no matter how bad you did, because you're all God's children. He comes back for you. I don't know if that's the case. Nobody knows until the end.
Right.
When it's your time to go.
April 8th, man.
April 8th? What are you talking about?
You haven't seen this?
No.
Going around online.
What the hell's that?
April 8th.
Should I stay home that day?
Yes.
What's going? Oh wait, the eclipse.
Eclipse.
Oh, the eclipse. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not flying that day, so I'm not going to be in that weird spread of the U.S. It's going to be in the dark for a few minutes.
You didn't hear about like the conspiracies behind this?
No.
Oh, so
Let me guess. Global warming.
no. Apparently, 7 years ago, the same eclipse occurred, and the moon. I think it was the moon passed through 7 different cities within the U.S.
Okay.
And they all had the exact same name. I think it was Salem, I want to say. And Salem is like, there's a meaning for it. And I think there's a biblical meaning for it. Not Salem witches or anything like that.
Oh, that's a good one. Boy, you were pretty well versed. Salem witches. Most people wouldn't even think of that, but go on.
Yeah. And then this time, 7 years later, the moon is going to pass in a exact opposite form.
Makes an X.
So it makes an X.
That's Elon Musk, dude. He's got control over the planets and the moon.
Well, so
Is this where you're going with it?
No. And this time, as it passes, it's passing over 7 cities that are called Nineveh, which is a city within the Bible that is referenced for apocalyptic times, apparently. Right?
Revelations.
Right. And oddly, there's so many like odd things that I've heard about of it. Like the exact spot that the X crosses is in a city called Little Egypt. Right. And I think it has a formal name, but its nickname is Little Egypt, which everyone is like, Little Egypt.
Is that? I'm just going to go with a guess. Does that have anything to do with the those that were sent to the desert for 40 years?
Yes.
Yes,
Most
or no?
likely. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the true
Because
relevance
weren't they
to the
banished to
conspiracy.
Egypt? They were sent to Egypt to walk
Well,
the
they
desert.
lived in Egypt.
They can never mind then.
Right?
Okay.
They're banished from Egypt.
Banished. Thank you. Okay, so yeah,
40 days, 40 nights. Right.
got my I got my biblical history mixed up for a moment, but yes.
But this is like, prophecy, and this is apocalyptic in nature, this crossing. And with that, there's where this line is going,
Yeah.
there's a fault line right in the United States, right in the middle of it, right where it's going to be headed.
Oh, really?
Right, where
Wow.
people are thinking that this will actually trigger a huge earthquake, and that places of the United States will be underwater, like all of Florida and a lot of California.
Oh,
and,
geez. Well, if that's the case, the Electoral College will suffer some losses on the West Coast, the left coast.
Left coast, I like that.
The Revelations is funny. I was enamored with that when I was young. I would read those passages in Revelations because it's just, well, A, it's intriguing, and B, it's kind of scary, truth be told. But the idea that the moon turns blood red, the sun will turn ash black.
Yeah.
This is the initial sign to mankind that days are done. Yeah, so.
Well, speaking of the apocalypse.
Yeah. I look forward to it. Do you? I'm joking.
Well, I just want to bring something up real quick. There's a podcast I listen to all the time, the Lex Friedman podcast. Have you heard of Lex Friedman?
Cannot say I have.
Awesome podcaster. Probably one of the biggest in the world.
Okay.
Actually. And he did an interview with a lady named Anne. I forget her last name. It starts with a K. But she's written 6 books already. They just did a podcast together like 5 days ago. And the whole podcast, or at least what I've listened to, the 2 hours I've listened to thus far, it's a 3-hour podcast. The 2 hours I've listened to is about nuclear war and how nuclear war will play out. And she wrote a book on everyone that she's interviewed, and she's interviewed some incredible people throughout all of the books that she's written. And she's very knowledgeable, and she's a great storyteller. I mean, if you listen to 15 minutes of this podcast, you're sucked in like immediately.
Yeah.
Right? So anybody out there, if you know of Lex Friedman, I would definitely recommend checking out this podcast that he has with her specifically. If you don't know of Lex Friedman, there you go. I introduced it to one of my buddies just a few weeks ago, and he absolutely loves it, he says. And his Lex Friedman's latest latest guest, excuse me, was Dana White, and talking all about the UFC and how martial arts have, come up in the U.S. and the UFC. So,
You a big fan of UFC?
no.
Neither am I. I think it's barbaric.
I mean,
It's just, it doesn't get me. Boxing, I adore. But then people have told me, well, Tim, boxing's rigged.
I like the UFC when it was like bare knuckle. You could do anything.
The Hoist Gracie years.
Yeah.
The
right,
original, we're talking like 1990-ish.
Right.
Where,
I like that.
Yeah, those guys, something about that. I mean, you just got to have some real balls.
Right.
My God. I mean, you still do in this day. I mean, I wouldn't go in a cage with anybody. I'd get my butt kicked in a heartbeat, man. I'd crawl and,
Yeah.
tap out before they even get to me.
Anyone that knows anything about jiu-jitsu would kill me.
Yeah, like I said, lover, not a fighter over here. It's just not my thing. But yeah, I remember those. It's funny. My uncle, when I was a kid, I'd sometimes spend the nights over at my aunts and uncles, and he was actually pretty. He was, I don't know, he was a first or second degree black belt that he got to. He spent many years studying karate, and the art of the cheat is what it was. The art of the cheat.
Never heard of this.
That's how he would describe, and I'd heard others say that too, the art of the cheat. He was also really well versed in using stars, nunchucks, bows. I mean, really like all the instruments and tools that look cool in movies. He could actually use them, and he was good at it. But he was watching that UFC stuff the very early years, the Hoist Gracie years. I think there was a guy named Patrick Stewart, not the guy from Star Trek Next Generation. I think there was a guy named Patrick Stewart, if I remember. But some of these early fighters, and he'd show me the videos, and I was like, what is this? And these guys, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Oh, yeah.
To watch this stuff. Fast forward, 30 years, and now it's commercialized. You got billion fans. I mean, it's a total industry. But I always go back to boxing, and I just have, since I was a kid, and even now to this day, something about only using fists. I'm enamored with it.
What do you think about the Tyson Jake Paul?
Tyson's going to get paid. I mean, whether he knocks the guy out or not. I laugh because it's like Jake Paul. I mean, come on, man. It's like you're going to go beat up a 60-year-old man. What's next? The Little Sisters of the Poor? You can take on 10 nuns? I mean, come on, dude. Come on.
It's Tyson, though, man.
I get it's Tyson, and I'm sure Tyson is not an easy guy to just knock down. I actually like Tyson's odds. Tyson is a true trained fighter. The only downside, he's damn near double the age of his opponent.
I think I read he's getting paid $20 million for this fight.
Yeah, so even if he, has to go down after 5 or 6 rounds, and that was one thing about Tyson years back. He was one who could not go past. They actually never thought, I should say, even in his heyday, 4 or 5 rounds would be his max because he was so used to just knocking people out in the first 1 or 2. But
I thought I've seen him fight a 10-round fight already.
He's done. He has. Yeah, I mean, there were some in the Buster Douglas fight. 1, 2, the slow count, the 15-second count, that was only 9 seconds. But anyways, yeah, I do like Tyson's odds on this one. If I were a betting man, presuming it's not rigged, I would take Tyson.
Yeah, I would agree completely. I mean, I think Jake Paul, if Tyson's making $20 million, Jake Paul will make
70.
$50 million,
yeah.
right? Just from the attention that he's going to receive over this.
But he keeps taking on people that are washed up or non-boxers by,
it's a show.
But that's just it. This is pure entertainment. I don't
Right.
understand how he's. I mean, again, credit to him. I'm not knocking that. I mean, look, it takes a lot to just go in a ring with anybody. Clearly, he conditions himself. He's done a lot to promote himself. I get credit upon credit upon credit. But the opponents, I look at, I think, like, okay, we can take on you and me next. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, are you a serious fighter or are you just an entertainment fighter? And
But that's just
I
it.
think it's coming out as I'm an entertainment fighter.
I mean, why don't you go after like Tyson Fury
Right.
and see if he lasts 12 rounds?
Have you seen the videos of Tyson training?
I have. I've, of course, seen the commentary around it or read the commentary that suggests it's all just, little snippets. He's really not training that hard. He's not doing that.
Oh, is that what the...
Yeah,
Is that
it's
what they
just,
say?
because
he looks like a fucking beast.
that's the thing. He's always maintained, for the most part, his mobility and shape. And that's pretty hard to do after 40 years from when you were knocking people out in the ring. Or I should say knocking people out of the ring.
Especially the dude's a weed head, isn't he?
He apparently probably dabbles in
Well, doesn't he have
Mother
farms
Earth's
and shit?
pleasures, huh?
I thought he had farms of this.
He does. I believe he's now a businessman.
Right.
Yeah. So talk about a guy that, rose to fame, hundreds of millions of dollars. His trainer dies, Customato. That was like his dad, basically. Customato dies. The training goes down the toilet. Insert Don King among some other less than desirable managers, characters, and trainers around him. And then he's buying, tigers and giraffes for his house, and he's not doing what he's supposed to do, and he lost it all. And now his brand is back again, decades later. And people love him. Like, they never stopped loving him.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree.
Despite all of his, whether the Robin Givens thing, people can have opinions about it all day long, all of his legal woes, whatever. The Tyson brand, you can't, it's almost hard to hate the guy. You want to root for him.
He doesn't have that, he never really had that many things where, like, he got caught doing really bad things that would label him a bad person, though.
That's what I'm saying. He, the Buster Douglas fight pretty much is what, that was the major downfall thereafter, which, still people debate that fight to this day.
The Holyfield, the Buster Douglas fight.
Buster Douglas would have been, was it 91? I got to think back.
What happened in that fight? What are your
Buster Douglas was Buster Douglas, I believe, was he was a 40 to 1 long shot. People can look it up. I might be off by a couple digits, maybe 42 to 1 long shot. He basically was a nobody. And Tyson goes over to, was it Tokyo? Somewhere overseas. Could have been Shanghai or something, but he was overseas. The fight goes, and about halfway through the fight, Tyson had Buster Douglas's number. And Buster Douglas finally goes down. Excuse me. Buster Douglas goes down. The ref, and anybody who watches this on YouTube or has seen it would probably argue the same thing. The ref, he goes, 1, 2.
Oh, okay.
It was a slow count. And when you really run it in real time, it's about 15 seconds. Slowest count. Finally, Buster Douglas gets up right around 9, They should have waved that. He was out. But he came back. Before you know it, Tyson ends up losing the match. And it was wildly unexpected because Tyson, up to that point, undefeated, should have remained undefeated because of that fight. And ever since then, everything just went to hell. The legal issues, Robin Givens, the ex-wife thing. I think there was a domestic violence. Then he does the jail time. Then he gets out. He's just one thing from the next. And, well, that's Tyson's little nutshell story.
Speaking of, maybe tangent off into a little bit different subject, What do you think of the P. Diddy shit going down?
Dude, I read that today. I was like, first thing I thought of is, he killed Tupac. That's the first thing I thought of. It's like they found some evidence. They're raiding his home because they found the evidence. They know that he killed Tupac. He was behind it. Look, I know it's related to sex trafficking.
Yeah.
At least that's the initial, I guess, allegations or investigation.
Raided his house in Miami, raided his house in L.A. Yep.
By the way, he had some nice Range Rovers and G-Wagons sitting at the house in L.A. I saw in the aerial view.
Well, and I saw the only people that got arrested were his sons, or in handcuffs, I should say.
Oh, is his sons?
Yeah, that's what
they just said
photos were.
associates or whatever. I didn't know it was his sons.
Yeah.
And his kids, like, they got to be 35 or 40. Are they still living with dad?
Hey, if he's a billionaire, you know.
Yeah, I remember when one of them turned 16. Remember that show, My Sweet 16?
Yeah.
On MTV? Yeah, ridiculous show, but admittedly I watched some of it. But I remember when his kid turned 16, he bought him a Lamborghini. My dad did that for me too. I'm joking, man. No, he didn't do that shit. Did your dad buy you a Lamborghini when you turned 16?
When I turned 16, I got a $500 Mazda. That's what I got.
What'd you get, a Miata RX-7? What'd you get?
It was a 929, so it was like a huge boat.
Okay. Shout out to the 929 Mazda.
Huge Mazda boat. I think it was 929.
First car. What was
Got
that?
it from my Uncle Peter.
So that was your first car then?
That was my first car. Yes, my very first car.
My first car was a maroon exterior. It gets even sexier. Maroon interior. Plymouth Acclaim. Sweet little
Nice.
four-door. My grandfather's old car, and then because he wanted a big Buick, and so he was selling that, and that's what I got for my first car.
Sweet.
Yeah, so Plymouth Acclaim, and kids at school, they'd always be laughing like, "What you claiming? What are you claiming?"
My second car was a Pontiac Fiero. Poor man's
Legit?
Porsche.
Poor man's Porsche.
Yep.
I thought Maseratis were poor man's Ferraris, and then Maseratis are. I'm sorry. Yeah, never mind. But so was it red?
It was red.
Sweet, because it only came in red, yellow, and white. I think something like that.
Yep. Overheated every 2 blocks.
So what would you do? Put coolant in?
The thing was like a little race car. It was a little go-kart, more like. It was cool.
You know what's funny? Those. I mean, I'm not saying Fieros have massive value. Some do, but you look at Grand Nationals. You look at some of those iconic '80s cars, old Firebirds, even, and there's a real nostalgia around them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're collectors. I mean, people actually will clamor for this stuff because, you know, at one time, you know, we reminisce about it, but people of our age, not everybody of our age, but there are people of our age that have the money now disposable to go buy
Right.
these types of things because they miss it, and it's just nostalgic. You know? But I'm not going to go buy a Plymouth Acclaim. Those things are trash.
I don't know. I might still go buy a Fiero.
What color? The red again?
Yeah.
Okay. Did they have any racing stripes on it?
It did have stripes on the side.
Did it?
Yeah, I think they were like pinstripes, though. They weren't.
Oh, the pinstripes, yeah. The ones you can, like, with your nail.
Peel off.
Yeah, peel off, yeah. Yeah, those are cheap.
And I made like, it was so funny because back in the day, me and all my buddies were into like, you know, big audio equipment in our cars. And
JBLs?
bass and, you know, everything.
Rockford Fosgate?
Oh,
What'd you
yeah,
have?
Everything, man.
Blog-punked.
So like in that car, there wasn't even a place to put a subwoofer.
No, you couldn't, because the trunk was about as big as your grocery
It
cart.
was in the front.
Oh, that's right.
The trunk's in the
Yeah,
front.
that's right.
You know, so I literally made like 6-inch wooden boxes.
Yeah, I was just
to
gonna
put
say.
speakers in, and I'd put them behind.
Did
like,
you?
Yeah, like behind the headrests. It was pretty
That
fun.
was a real DIY back then.
Oh, every car I had, we did tons of crazy DIY stereo shit.
Did you post it on IG at the time? I'm joking.
Gee, no such thing, right? It was the good old days.
Fieros. All right. Yeah, I remember those things. Boy, that's a total throwback when you think about some of those cars back then.
Yeah, it was fun.
Completely.
And then our family became a little bit more well off because my mother married a doctor.
Oh, she did.
Yeah. So my stepfather was an anesthesiologist. And after that occurred, then we got like some nice cars.
Oh,
right?
that's cool.
So then like growing up, we had like a red Firebird convertible, and we had like a car that my sister and I drove around was like a Pontiac G6, which was like a incredibly fast car actually.
Yes, I remember those. And the Firebird. What is it? Did it have the 5.7 liter?
The one that we had only had a V6 in it, so it
Oh,
was actually
boo,
slow. Yeah.
boo.
The Pontiac G6 could take that thing easily.
I think the 5.7 liter was the same vet engine. They put a vet engine basically in that Firebird, and you know it had like 6 exhaust pipes on the back or something.
Yeah, that's not the one we had, that's for sure. But I do remember my mom at one point also had a green Chrysler Sebring convertible.
Oh,
Remember those Chrysler Sebrings?
Yeah, a JXI.
Yeah.
Okay, so
There's
fully loaded.
Long,
Yeah.
long boat convertibles.
Yeah.
And
Two-tone alloy wheels.
Right, and here's me. I'm like 16 years old. I look like I'm kind of Mexican when I actually have hair growing out. I think I had a full stash by the time I was like 6 years old. So, big black hair, big black mustache, looking like a Mexican, driving this Sebring down the road in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. I get pulled over by the police because, is this your car, son? I'm like,
And how did you reply?
are you serious, man?
See?
Yes, of course. This is not my car.
Of course, this is not my
I
car.
just stole it. But anyways,
Does your stepfather still practice?
My stepfather is no longer alive. He
I was.
took his life.
Oh, geez.
He
Okay.
took his own life.
All
Like,
right.
I don't know how many years ago it's been now. Maybe 4 or 5.
So since I've been living here,
Yeah.
because I moved here 7 years ago.
Well, my mom and him were divorced.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, so your mother. Okay, I understand now. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's,
So
say no more. It's okay.
right. But yeah, you know, he had a tough ending to his life in some ways, because he got involved. He was kind of caught up in the being an anesthesiologist. He would give out a lot of pain medication.
I can imagine.
And, the doctors back in the day, whether it's hydrocodone, meth, morphine, whatever, they gave it out
Candy.
like it wasn't that big of a deal.
Mhm.
Before it's like, an epidemic,
Yeah.
right? And then all of a sudden it's an epidemic, and every one of these doctors that was doing that is being charged criminally, and he was one of those doctors that was being charged
Really?
criminally. And yeah, you can look up the articles about it in Manitowoc, and that was probably I think he lost his license. I think he lost his practice. He owned a pain clinic for some time. I think he lost
Dang.
all that because of it.
Okay.
And fair or unfair, just or unjust, I mean, it happened, and that was probably part of his downfall. But yeah, that's always a topic for another time.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Should we shift gears to something else?
sure.
Cool.
The topic doesn't bother me all that much, but we can change it up.
Yeah, but that's a heavy one, man.
Yeah.
That's a heavy one. That's just a heavy one.
Yeah, for people that know me, and now for people that really don't know me, if you're watching, that's one person in my life that has took their life. The other, I had a step brother, his son, my step brother. He took his life at the age of 16.
Jesus.
Yeah, and that was a long time ago already. I mean, that was probably 15 years ago already. Maybe not that much. But yeah, when he was 16 years old. So
Nobody close to me has. I know of people through others who have.
Yep.
I mean, I don't even call them distant connections. It's just of somebody. But boy, that's
incredibly hard thing for the family.
I can only imagine. You can't even fathom
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And grief, among other things. The questions.
And mental health is so
Yeah,
important.
it
Everyone's
is.
mental health is so important. If you have issues, see somebody, talk to somebody.
Talk.
There's always people available. There's always people that care for you.
Yeah, you got. I mean, speak up.
And I would even go as far as saying, don't be afraid to, take prescription drugs to help you if you need it. Don't. It's not a bad thing. They can really help you at some time. So that's my
Jesus.
opinion. But I'm not a doctor. Don't take my opinion as advice.
I'm no doctor either. I just deal with them.
That's right. Well, okay. Let's switch topics. What else you got, Tim?
We had a fun thing we were going to talk about, which was the jackpot. The first off, Powerball and Mega Millions is just climbing through the roof again.
What is it at right now?
I think Mega Millions is 1.2 ish. Again, who's counting? I know it's just a little more than what Trump had to pay. Joking right now. Maybe he might win it too. Now that would be some shit. That would be some shit.
That would.
Could
be
you?
funny.
I could just see him going up on stage with that winning ticket. I won. That'd be great. I would actually applaud it. But no, I think it's 1.2 on Mega Millions. And Powerball, I believe, is sitting at a cool 800 million. So not too far behind. Probably could be off by a few dollars. But we were talking about at least just the thought. Because people always, it's funny. If you ask your everyday person, what are your chances of a heart attack? What are your chances of getting hit by a car? What are your chances of people like that's not going to happen? No way. No. One of these lotteries goes to $1 billion. People rush to get a ticket. I have a chance. I could. Your chances are about zero. Your chance of a heart attack is probably 25%. But
Well, your chance is 1 in 252 million for
something
Powerball.
like that.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's just like it's near zero. It's the decimal points, right? But people, those same individuals, are so quick to think, well, the odds of I'm not even going to get hit by a car. I'm not going to have a heart attack. I'm not. You don't even want to get eaten by a shark. What are you talking about? But no, your odds of winning that lottery are basically near zero. However, yes, there is a chance, and it's kind of like the Dumb and Dumber thing, right? You're saying there's a chance. But yeah, we were just the last couple days, thinking what would be maybe the wildest thing you'd either buy or do, and get all the luxuries out the way, right? You got a pile of cash, you buy a bunch of homes, your cars, your fur coats, jewelry, whatever it is, right? You get all this stuff out of your system and you just buy a bunch of crap. But what's the one thing that you would do that would just be either wild, completely unusual, something you would just, I got to do it? Because you got the means now,
Yeah.
or at least try to do.
Well, I can give you my answer there.
Aside from getting even with people you hate in life.
Mine's not really even like buying anything necessarily, right? Because that kind of money, yeah, you can buy whatever you want. One thing I've always wanted in my life that I've never had is a real Rolex. I've never had one. Still
Like
want.
mine?
Could probably go and afford one. You got one?
Yeah, you've seen. I'll show you it next time.
Oh,
I wore it the
nice.
other day. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always wanted one. Never bought one. I don't know
Shout
why,
out
but
to Jarrett at Rolex Boutique in Chicago, and Sharon and Jeff down there as well. If you guys need a Rolex, go to Chicago. Do not go to Triber and Straub in Milwaukee. They can't get you the good stuff. If you want the objective pieces, go to Chicago.
Does it come with papers?
Oh, Papers box. Oh, I brought it brand new, dude.
Okay.
This thing is clean as clean. It's beautiful. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So that's probably one thing I'd get out of my system, but that's nothing. That's like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10K, whatever it is, right? The thing that I would do with the money though is, and with my family, I would really love to travel to like all the ancient archaeological sites, right? So, like Egypt,
Okay.
Göbekli Tepe, Machu Picchu. Those are some of the places I've always wanted to go.
Athens, Botanical Gardens. Like, I mean, we're talking like
Yeah, I mean
Gardens of
ancient-
Botanica. Yeah.
ancient sites that have the, stone megaliths.
Yes.
Always-
Stonehenge.
Yeah, and then just fly around nice private planes, visiting all those places, taking tours of them, learning as much as I could possibly learn about every one of them. I'm absolutely intrigued by all that kind of stuff, and like my wife doesn't like to fly all that much, so she doesn't want to go to some
Seriously?
of these places. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So that's kind of a bummer. I'm sure we will eventually.
You always go by
but
boat. Might
I don't know
take
if
you a
I'd wanna
couple
do
weeks,
that.
but
I don't think she'd want to go by boat either. But yeah, if I would just win a ton of money, although I do have to come out with a disclaimer first off that I would never want to win $1.2 trillion.
billion, you mean?
A billion, yeah, sorry.
The government gets trillions.
Well,
Lottery winners only get billions.
I mean, I think it's a death sentence. I honestly think
Yeah.
it's like a death sentence. I think.
Do you
I think
remember-
you're unlucky winning that much.
Well, do you remember the gentleman? He was only in his 20s. The one that won from the Speedway up
Right up the
yeah,
road
in New
Yeah.
Berlin. That was back in 2019 or something
And
like
you
that.
never hear about these people.
Well, when he had to go public, because in most states you have to go public,
Right.
which sucks. And I don't understand why the laws aren't written that you just can't stay anonymous and
Some
be a
states you
ghost.
can.
Very few, though. Very few. I think it's 40 some of them you actually have to go public. But with him, I remember his spokespeople had already washed his social media, whatever little bit he had online, and basically said, you're not going to hear from him again. Like, he's gone. Now, what he did do locally, only because I know the neighborhood in Muskego, he bought a string of homes. They were all new or under development homes, right? They was just brand new subdivision. He bought kind of like Monopoly, just like 4 or 5 in a row.
Yeah.
And we have some mutual friends back in that particular subdivision. They were hoping he'd buy their house as
Really?
part of the deal because they wanted to build new and get bigger. But he bought all these homes for his family members. Dropped about $600K on each one. Peanuts at the end of the day compared to the whatever I think it was like $1.3 billion or $1.4 billion, some nuts number.
Did he
that
take the
went-
lump sum? Do you know?
Yeah, he did. He did. But you can only imagine, like, where is he now? I mean, I doubt I think he was a truck driver, too. He's like a delivery guy. But I doubt he's doing anything in terms of a job. He probably just relaxes. But, you wonder where he's at. So you would travel and want to visit all those sites. That's cool, man.
But then again, like that only lasts for so long, right?
Yeah, the satisfaction. Okay, you stop, you take your pictures, and you tour it. But then what?
Right.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, I'd want to do like the treasure hunting stuff, like they do like Indiana Jones, like look for actual old treasures that people talk about.
make sure the bag of sand weighs the exact same as whatever the little thing you got to swap with, right? You know what I'm talking about? Just like swap the bag of sand with the
Yep.
little statue or something.
Um,
And make sure you choose the right chalice.
Chalice, yes.
Really the covenant, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
eternal life.
Arc.
You chose wisely. Anyways,
Like the dudes that are digging up in
yeah.
what is that? They made a TV show out of it. It was on the Discovery Channel. The guys up in Canada, they were digging. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not, but I'm not
Can't
doubting it
remember
either.
the name that it is right now, but they've been like digging at this one site for buried treasure. That's
Oh, that's the one. I know what you're talking about. Everybody's like died or you can't find it.
right.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about because one of my directors at work was talking about this not long ago, and he's been enamored with it for quite some time.
One of our screens just went on. But yeah, and these guys that are doing it have pumped like millions and millions and millions of
Yes.
dollars into this already.
I'm sure after this podcast, you and I, one of us will look it up and be like, "That's the name of it."
Right, right.
But you know what's cool about all those places? Whether it's Egypt or Athens, I mean, to think that thousands of years ago, people built this stuff literally by hand. There was no Caterpillar equipment to move anything, and somehow they made all of it.
Not that we know of.
Not that we know of. It could have been a simulation, right? I mean, it just could have been like Roblox,
Yeah, because in the last one,
SimCity.
right? We're just on top of it.
So I would take a different direction on this one. Certainly, I'd probably be lounging around in a Versace robe, Versace slippers, piles of cash as I just sit there in my sunglasses and watch TV all day, like Scrooge McDuck. But this is where I really do hope some people are listening on this one because you're either going to laugh or you're going to cringe. I'm not sure which one. I am a diehard fan of Mr. Robert Kelly. Yes, R. Kelly.
R. Kelly,
Yeah,
really?
I love the
I
guy.
was too growing up. That's
dude,
funny,
I
dude.
love the guy, man. Seriously, free R. Kelly. I'm telling you, man.
Little
Free
bump
the
and
guy.
grind.
Free the guy, please. I mean, songs like I Wish and
I
When a
don't see
Woman's
nothing
Fed
wrong.
Up, and that's right, man. I adore King of R&B. And I've always told myself, boy, if I had that kind of coin, could I somehow, even if it was for like 3 hours, just release him for just one private concert for like me, and I'd invite probably 50 people.
That's
you know?
funny.
That would be it. But I would totally do, try to get R. Kelly out.
To piss on you?
No, but not to piss. No, I don't want any of that. I don't want any of the doo-doo butter. None of the Chappelle Show stuff, even though those are funny skits back then. But no, I just would want to see him. Like I say, I was at one of his concerts once. He sounds just like his albums.
Yeah.
I mean, he is spot on. I mean, the songs like Oreo and I Wish, and I mean, there's so many other ones. Actually, Cookie is the name of the song. But yeah, I would do that, oddly enough. And it's funny because people have, they're close friends of mine and people even I work with are like, how can you like R. Kelly? And you know what he did? And I'm like, do you like Michael Jackson? They're like, well, yeah, he did Thriller. I'm like, he touched kids.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, you kidding me?
What's up with all these entertainment stars, man?
It's Hollywood.
R.
what you're
Kelly,
saying.
P. Diddy, Michael Jackson.
So you know what's crazy? Because I'm not going to name names, but one of my colleagues, oddly enough, grew up right around the corner from R. Kelly.
Really?
Yeah, in Chicago. She grew up. She remembers him all too well as a child, growing up. She remembers his sisters. She said that family was messed up.
Really?
Messed up. Like there was.
Did she like go over to his house and stuff?
No, but she knew him. He's in the neighborhood.
Right.
This is. Just the messed up scenario at that household.
Such as what?
You can imagine. Well, it's been on public record at least, or at least not to say record, but the sisters have had to defend themselves, saying that they never did molest him,
Really?
because it's been believed that the reason he's probably as wacky as he is because he was molested by his own sisters. That can maybe leave a scar in life, and then what do you do later in life?
Right.
But anyways, Yeah, R. Kelly, man, and you know what's wild about him? From what I've understood, his start in music, he was basically a street performer, and he would sit outside by the Bulls Arena back in the '80s, playing on his keyboard, little beat up keyboard, singing, make a few bucks. Caught the attention of Craig Hodges. If anybody remembers Craig Hodges, he was a sharpshooter for the Bulls back then. This is in the early Jordan years. And Craig Hodges took notice, bought him a brand new keyboard.
Mm.
And that's what got his start.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's even more interesting is that you're a huge R. Kelly fan.
Dude, like seriously, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And
Do you have any like R. Kelly memorabilia at your house?
my best piece of memorabilia is actually a message he sent to me. No doubt. No
Really?
joke. It's on my phone to this day. He sent it to me only because two friends of mine had business dealings because they owned the building that they later had to evict him out of in Chicago. The one that all the crap went down. This was just a few years back. But they owned the building, which had some recording studios in it. It also had a sort of makeshift residence inside. And when
S&M chamber.
something like that, yeah, if those walls could talk.
Right.
But because of the business dealings, they got to meet him at one point, and this was before all the stuff went down. I mean, we're talking 2015, 2016, right? And when they said, "Hey, we're gonna meet our," I'm like, "You serious? Like, you're gonna meet the R? You're gonna meet this guy?" Like, yeah. I said, "Do me one favor." I said, "Have him sing this one bar for me, just one." And he did. He just sent a personal message and he sang the bar.
Oh, it's like
just,
a voicemail?
no, it was just a video. Like
okay.
he did, it was like probably 20 seconds. And I was like, to this day, I mean, I cherish it like my wedding photos. I mean, I literally just cherish this thing, dude.
So you have the video on your phone?
Yes, I do.
Nice.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
That's funny. That's cool.
So yeah, but yeah, Mr. R. Kelly, like I say, I hope he's doing okay, you know. But I don't know.
Well, that question's a good way to get to know somebody, you know. Now I know you love R. Kelly. You know I love old archaeology.
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Yeah.
And all of my friends from back in the day could attest that I was a big R. Kelly fan too.
I'll see.
I'd always play that stuff, try to get the ladies.
But how could you not like R. Kelly? That's the thing. I mean, the guy could sing about trash bins and office chairs, and he'd still make it sound good. I mean,
I
literally.
didn't care what he was singing about. I just cared that girls liked it. So.
It literally though, his musical talents, they're undeniable. He's not some auto-tune. I mean, it's none of that. And when he was up on stage performing, I mean, again, not only the vocals, which I was just like, this guy sounds legitimately like his albums. It's remarkable. But the pianos, anything to do with the keyboard, I mean, he has that innate talent, and he's just really that skilled, and yeah, he's good. So,
R. Kelly fanboy in our hands here.
shout out to R. Kelly. I know you're in a jail cell, buddy. Still got love for you.
Maybe we can get you on the podcast one day too.
Maybe, huh?
That would be
Maybe.
fun. That'd be fun. If he ever becomes a billionaire, we'll take you out of prison, get you on the podcast, and then have a little concert.
Well, it's, I mean, it's crazy how some of these guys, like I say, they just take the, well, it could be anybody, but music, Hollywood, just the unsavory things that people get wrapped up in, and it's often so illegal and bad and wrong and all that. But not judging through the prism of his choices in life, it's just the musical side he's that good.
It seems like, in the last couple of years, we're really seeing a ton of nasty shit come out of Hollywood.
Totally.
Like, people's eyes are starting to open, or maybe we're just being shown more. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's everything's recorded these days. I don't know what it is. Maybe people just trying to get a check, like Diddy saying. But I don't know. It seems like it's coming out so much now. Who'd want to get wrapped up in that shit?
Exactly, who would? This whole Diddy thing, I think, is going to be intriguing to see it unfold. Like, whatever they're looking for. Because you don't send in that many men
They were armed. They had like.
These guys look like they were about to go commit some warfare.
Yeah, I know. I saw that too, and I was like, "Is this really necessary? You think Diddy's clan is gonna be have a shootout with the cops?"
Yeah, because I don't think the 9 milli is going to hold up to an AR that well. You know,
Yeah, it was. There were
just
SWAT
don't.
teams, like and SWAT vehicles.
That's
and-
just it. The armored vehicles. These guys went in. They were padded and ready. That's why the whole thing. I thought it's it looks like comedy on TV, but I think to myself, they're really looking for something.
very much so. And did you know his?
But they said his plane was last found in Antigua, down in the Caribbean. But his whereabouts, they don't know if he was actually on that plane. So if he's fled the U.S., it's like the whole Epstein thing. It's just like,
and his wife, or not wife, I think it was just his ex, Cassie.
yeah,
She had brought charges against him
yeah, a bunch of them did.
for like nasty stuff too.
Yeah,
And
a lot of stuff's coming out now,
and they settled a day later.
yeah, they did.
A day later, so that must have just been a huge check, and she must have just said,
At
"Okay,
least
see ya."
50,000. At least 50,000.
Hopefully, she's brighter than that.
Maybe it was for 454 million.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Diddy money's in the billions, isn't it?
Yeah, the Ciroc money. That's why.
I always thought Diddy was a goof.
He's a businessman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he brands stuff.
Right.
But remember, like, the Making the Band show?
So stupid. Go give me some cheesecake.
Do you remember the Chappelle skit on that one?
Yeah.
Who are the 5 best rappers of all time? Dylon, 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 Dylon.
So he's just I always just thought he was a goof, man. You know, like he wrote on the back Notorious B.I.G.
Yes, he did.
And, maybe he's shrewd at business and good at business.
I always liked Mace.
I like Mace too.
To this day.
Yeah.
I mean, still, and Mace is
Preacher
actually...
Mace.
Yeah, and he actually just came out with some stuff with... it was Jada Kiss and Cameron, who I'm like, Cameron, how could I forget? If it's not R. Kelly, I'm spending my money to get Cameron. I'm going to fly Cameron to New Berlin, and I will meet that man personally.
That's
like,
interesting.
Cameron
I was
is...
never a big fan of Cameron.
Oh my God, dude. Nas, Cameron, I love Jada Kiss. I mean,
So
of course,
you're-
there's new stuff.
You're East Coast.
Yeah, but I'm also big into the Memphis. Like, I love, rest in peace, Young Dolph. Flipper, right? Shout out to Flipper. And then you also got Key Glock. Key Glock, everything that guy drops right now is just, it's money. It's money. Key Glock was part of PRE, Paper Route Entertainment. I mean, these guys are good. Yeah. You're probably wondering, like, how does Tim know all this stuff?
No, I feel like I haven't heard a good new rap song in like 10 years. I feel like it's all just garbage these days. There's some exceptions, yes, but I feel like it's all just garbage.
Do you still listen to Everybody in the Club Getting Tipsy?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was who was that by?
Jaquan.
Jaquan.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Jaquan. I think that was his only hit.
Yeah,
Yeah, but no, there's a bunch of other ones that I listen to as well.
those were the good years of rap, man.
They were, and I like more like the independent folks, like I say, Young Dolph, Key Glock. Huge fan of Young M.A. Most people like, she's a female rapper. Yeah, she is. She's dynamite. Like, just slays it. But I always like to pull up on YouTube are the freestyles of like Tory Lanez, Cameron, Young M.A. There's a few others. The freestyles that these folks go on, and I don't doubt that there's some maybe a component of rehearsing beforehand. At least they maybe hear the beat and then they go in and they got something already in their mind what they're going to say. The skill level on these folks is remarkable.
There's a fight right now going on between Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole. Have you seen that?
No, and I like J. Cole. Actually, I like Kendrick Lamar too. Like, he did a song with Lil Wayne called Mona Lisa, which it's a story tell. It's great. But J. Cole he just flip words. My son actually likes J. Cole. He's like, Dad, is that J. Cole?
He's a crazy artist. I mean, he's a true artist in my opinion.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
More than a lot of other rappers out there today. I mean,
Yeah, a lot of it's commercialized,
Yeah.
and not just with rap, but even look at like country. Are you a fan of country?
Yeah, some songs.
Okay.
I wasn't growing up. I got more into it in my later years.
Okay.
But I like the old kind of jazzy, bluish country.
Bluegrass, like
Yeah.
New stuff is more poppy, if you will. And
Everything's about my truck and my beer.
as I say, yeah, exactly. I was just dude, you took the words out of my mouth.
Right.
Funny thing I always look at with country music nowadays is you got these guys and gals, right? Whoever the talent agent is or what, it's the gonna put a hat, some boots, and a belt buckle on you, make you a star. You know, like
right.
like wait a minute, but you're from Vermont. Like, wait a minute, what am I missing here?
What do you think about Beyonce and her country album dropping?
This tiptoes into some stuff I'm gonna have to watch my words on. Okay, so she makes country songs. People didn't want to play because it's not very country. I'm not here to judge one way or the next. Frankly, I don't think new country is country, anyways. But I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I say why? I mean, why? You're incredibly successful in your R&B career and your pop career, and
I think it's to prove a point.
what's the point?
You're not gonna play my stuff because fill in the blank.
I'm black.
Yeah, I just like.
But it's getting played.
But that's just it. And who's the Darius Ruckers, the other guy, right?
Yeah, he's been around forever too, and he's incredibly successful.
And the thing is, I haven't even heard any of Beyonce's stuff. I don't listen to any of her stuff. Jay-Z, love his stuff.
Yeah.
Like the old Blueprint.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard Knock Life. Those Memphis Bleak. He was on that label. Other guys too.
I feel like Jay-Z's another guy that some of his old raps were really good, but some of them are kind of corny at the same time. But I mean, he is a good rapper, but I would never put him in the top anything.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a big thing to say, but I think he's more of a businessman than a rapper, in my opinion. Like when Eminem was on his song, Eminem murdered him on that one song that he put on. I think it was Blueprint or Blueprint 2. He did a song with Eminem. Eminem killed him on his own song.
Well, and him and Nas had that issue for a while too. I'm a huge fan of Nas, by the way.
I would take Nas over Jay-Z in terms of a rapper.
And Nas did Ether.
Yeah.
That song to this day, I still pull that up among
Right.
others. But yeah, shout out to Nas, right? As if he's listening.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how we just got on that, but yeah, going back to the Diddy thing, we'll see how this thing unfolds for P. Diddy. You know, it's funny. You know how he's changed his name about 5 or 6 times?
Yeah.
Puff, Puffy, Piffy.
Why would you even want the
Poofy.
name Diddy?
I don't know, but at one time when he was Puff Daddy, I always thought, man, this guy's getting old. Eventually, he's going to be called Edema.
Edema. Yeah,
Edema,
nice.
because he's.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good joke, huh?
Yeah, that's good.
Edema Diddy, Edema Daddy.
Edema Diddy Daddy.
But yeah, so we'll see what happens here. But I gotta believe that he's probably got plenty of dirt. I mean, didn't he get out of some crazy legal issues? Whether it was it racketeering or murder? What was the deal?
It was a shooting in a
That's
club.
what it was, a shooting at the club. Did
Shooting
somebody
in a
die
club.
though?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but yeah. And then it was well, they said he actually did pull the trigger too.
That's just it. But I gotta believe somebody took the rap. Oh, Shine.
That's right. I do remember that.
You know that guy?
Right.
Now tell me who won those ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That guy, he had the really low voice, super low,
Yeah.
almost raspy, like yours actually. But he rhymed.
And then there was the other guy, Choppa, wasn't it?
Yeah, NLE Choppa. But Shine, I think, is still in jail. I think he took the heat. He took the rap. Something of that sort. I'm sure, whatever. But yeah, Shine.
Speaking of rappers, the only other one that I really still enjoy is The Game. I think
Really?
Yeah, I think he's hardcore West Coast, man.
He is. I remember him and 50, when Game first came out, and he had some catchy tunes.
I still think he's a good rapper. He
Really?
likes to toot his own horn and talk about how he's better than people and better than Eminem and these things, and it's just no, you're not. But he says he is, and I actually think he has some really good songs. But to each his own, I guess.
So
I like the old West Coast music, and that's kind of his style, The old Dre, Snoop, Cube, I like that probably more than any type of rap.
So, local Milwaukee guy he was popular in 99-ish, because I remember right when I was graduating high school, Cuckoo Cal.
Yeah.
You know that? You know
Yeah.
that dude? Yeah,
Yeah,
no, yeah,
absolutely.
Cuckoo Cal. So it's funny. The barbershop I go to, he actually goes to that barbershop once in a while because he knows, I guess, one of the guys there.
Because I got high.
Was it?
Because I got high. Wasn't that Cuckoo Cal? Because I got high.
I'm
Da da
trying to.
dum 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 dum.
Cuckoo Cal did. No, he.
I was gonna go to school until I got high.
I don't. Did he do that one? You'd have to.
I'm gonna look this up right now.
No, Cuckoo Cal did In My Projects. In My Projects.
Oh,
In My Projects.
who sang?
Cuckoo Cal. Yeah, so he had a couple. He had a couple hits. He probably could have made something of a career. I don't know. I don't know him personally.
Yeah, my bad, dude. That's Afro Man. Because I
Afro
got
Man.
high.
Okay. But Cuckoo Cal, I liked his stuff. I mean, he had some good ones back then, and he did. And there it is. Shout out to Cuckoo Cal. There you go. There's another one on the night. But yeah, he was.
Cal, come join the podcast.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. I'd be like Cuckoo Cal. Yeah.
We'll indulge in some, and just maybe not Tim, but
No. Oh yeah, you guys.
if R. Kelly would pass you the J, would you take it?
No, because I never tried. I'd be afraid to. I'd probably have to say no thanks,
Even from your
Robert.
idol? Even from your idol?
I'd still say no thanks, Robert.
Okay.
You can have it from me. That's fine.
All right, good.
You know, I mean, yeah, R. Kelly again, but yeah, Cuckoo Cal. I don't know anybody else that was local. Actually, Tank.
I don't know, thank.
Tank. He's R&B,
Okay.
and so is Rico Love.
I don't know Rico Love either.
He hates
probably
Milwaukee,
heard
by the way, but he.
song, but-
Well, see, and also, you know who else? Eric Benet, Halle Berry's first husband.
Well, and the dude that was like trademarking the spinners too. What's his name?
Latrell Sprewell.
Yeah, Sprewell's.
Met him years ago as well. Yeah, Latrell. I don't think he has spinners anymore, and I don't think he has his boat or his house or much.
Where is he?
Don't know, but apparently when he signed, I remember when. What was it? What did he say when he signed that contract? This was for was it the Knicks or the Timberwolves? The one that paid him, this thing was 3 years, $24 million, something of that sort. I'll probably get my numbers off a little bit, but he was not thrilled with the initial offers, and when he finally got the deal he wanted, his response was, I got kids to feed, I got a family, and general public is not feeling bad for you. I mean,
Right.
this is
You're an NBA player.
whatever this is, 2000 or whatever that year was, and you're getting $8 million a year. What do you mean it's not enough? But yeah, he's a Milwaukee guy. Karan Butler, Racine. Look at all some of the guys in the NBA. Jordan Poole is playing for the Wizards. Kevon Looney. Who's the Patrick? Patrick Baldwin? Is it Baldwin Jr.? Yeah, he's another one. All these guys are in the league. They're all from Milwaukee.
I don't know any of these guys.
How about Nick Van Exel, former Laker, Kenosha, St. John's?
Nope.
Okay, all right.
I hadn't followed the NBA. Like, I followed
That's
the
okay.
NBA like when I was a young kid, and it was Jordan time.
Of course, yeah.
But after that, it fell off, and I've never really followed NBA after that.
I gotcha. Of course, Tyler Hero, but we touched on that last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jordan back in the day. I mean, who can deny Air Jordan?
It was fun watching that.
Oh my God. I mean, he just ate everybody's lunch.
Yeah, and I'd be the kid out in my driveway, pretending I was Jordan, making a shot here and there, and
Yeah.
it was always fun. I was not a great basketball player by any means, though. I'm looking at our.
Looking at our time here.
Well, I'm looking. Our time. We're almost at 11. I just wanted to look at our topics real quick.
Yeah, we had a couple others on there.
Ooh.
I mean, the Moscow Massacre is a big one.
What have you seen and heard about that?
I read the story the day that it happened, and
Do you know how many people actually died from it?
I think the toll went up to some 110 or 140, so it's a lot of people.
Yeah,
But
the last time
the roof collapsed, and that's what had caused a lot more.
from the fire,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I saw videos of people driving by and seeing it on fire. The last time I heard the death count, I heard 120, but then like the next day I heard like only 14, and I was like, well, what is it? Is it 14 or is it
Yeah.
120?
I don't know what to make of it. I find it just obviously the fact it's really awful. I mean, everything about it is just awful. There's no way to say it any other way. But why did it have to happen in Russia? Like, why?
Well,
I mean,
let's go with who. I mean,
Who, right, but what? Clearly, this is a chess move by somebody.
right. ISIS, apparently.
Apparently, but I thought they were gone.
Right.
Wait, so when I
Somebody,
saw that, immediately thought, wait a minute, I thought they were gone. I thought the whole thing was done.
yeah, somebody on X was saying the same thing where there's like, oh, well, Donald Trump came out and said he killed ISIS and obliterated
Correct.
them, and
I remember this.
and now they're back. So, not essentially saying like Donald's a liar, right? And I thought to myself, and I replied to it even on X, being like, I mean, there is the possibility that Donald Trump did wipe out ISIS, but ISIS is I didn't say it this way, but ISIS is a thought. It's not a person, and it can come back.
Right,
and now it comes
right.
back under Biden.
It's like
Right.
a parasite. I mean, it's
Right.
just
But everything that I've read and people and pundits and other people that do podcasts and are talking, everyone's pointing to CIA or MI6 or organizations like that where it is a chess move. These ISIS fighters, generally speaking, take their own lives or go until they die.
they don't flee.
And they caught all these guys. There's like 4 of them.
All of them, yeah.
Yeah.
It was also well choreographed. You know what I mean? At least from what a little bit you can read, how it was done,
Right.
the way they bum rushed in. You got the smoke grenades. You got gunfire. I mean, it played out like a script.
Yeah.
As almost though it was practiced or rehearsed.
Well, and they were saying that once they captured these guys, they were just singing. I mean, they didn't hesitate to talk at all.
Correct. So it makes you just wonder the whole thing.
Right.
And of course, Ukraine says, well, it's not us, which, how do you know? I mean, I'm not pointing fingers because I'm not going to be that guy. I look at it and think to myself, really? Like,
I just would wonder a few things. Like, if it's truly ISIS, why Moscow and why
Right.
now?
that's just it. The timing, the location, everything about it.
Right.
And of course, you have, whether it's the 14 you read about, 100, whatever the number is, people died that shouldn't have.
Right.
And it's all because,
Horrifically.
right, and it's all part of some scheme that's whoever drafted and
Right.
wrote up.
I just, even if it is a chess move, man, what's the move? In what circumstance
Like,
does
what's
this
the
help
what's the
any
upside? What's the
side?
play? Yeah,
Right.
that's the thing. What's the gain from it for anybody other than you got Putin all upset and pointing fingers again and laying blame and threatening everybody around the world of he's going to drop bombs on them now or something.
I mean, maybe that is the upside, right? Where you just
Aggravate.
aggravate somebody that's already in a conflict, and hopefully they escalate the conflict because of it.
But that's like proxy war stuff. That's all
Yeah,
that is.
right.
I mean, you're basically egging somebody on. It's
Well-
no different than kids on a playground. Like, oh yeah, you gonna hit him? Hey, you gonna hit him? No.
Well, even if it was ISIS, these guys are proxy fighters. I mean, they didn't even claim ISIS. They just said that, like, yeah, I met some guy on Telegraph and he gave me $5,000.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it wasn't. Maybe ISIS paid them, but it wasn't actually like ISIS people, from what I understand.
Correct.
So even they're proxying out their warriors here, which is like, what?
So messed up. It really is. And for people to just lose their lives, all because it's part of somebody's plan. Like, this is collateral damage to them. That's all it is. And that's messed up.
It's pretty disgusting when you think about the human race as a whole and how people can, order these hit jobs for chess moves like this in war games.
Does it make you rethink if we're born bad and do good things, or born good or do bad?
No, it doesn't make me rethink that.
No,
It makes
and-
me think that there's a lot of really bad people that other people learn from. throughout
Dude,
the world.
I'm telling you, man, this whole world, I am of the utmost belief there are far more bad than there are good. It may seem, well, that seems terrible, Timmy. You seem so negative.
I like to have the philosophy that there are more good people than bad, because I think if I would live in a world where my philosophy would be more bad people than good, I would have a negative opinion about nearly everything I see. And
Sadly, I think I might. At least more than I want to, I should say. Not everything.
yeah, I guess I'm more hopeful that the human race is more positive than it is negative.
Yeah, people. 7 billion? How many we got on the Earth now? 7.5? I don't even know what maybe
Right.
8 billion now, whatever it's approaching.
Gaining a lot.
Yeah, there is a lot of people. There is a lot of people, and a lot of them, well, there's a lot of people in this world who don't have much and they're hurting.
Yeah, the only other thing that I wanted to touch on just a little bit when we were talking about free will, good, bad, this kind of thing. I think, and this plays a lot into politics, man, where there are a lot of people that have good intentions, but can even do bad things with those good intentions.
Dude, talk about every liberal policy ever written.
Exactly. Right? I mean,
In the arena of ideas, they stink.
yeah.
On paper, it seems great and grand and wonderful, but when executed, it's an absolute fail.
Socialism.
Total fail.
Yeah. I mean, concepts are beautiful, right?
Oh, of course they are.
Yeah. But execution in reality, awful.
Absolutely.
So I think, in those scenarios, man, yeah, those are bad people, but the intentions were good. The intentions were pure. How often, not in all cases, obviously, right?
Right.
You're going to have people that are killers and that sort of thing. But, I mean, how many things throughout the world, if you were to go and look at every person and what every person's deeds were for one day, and you'd break it down in between good and bad, and if 50% of them were bad or 51% whatever, how many are just because it was well-intentioned, but it's actually a bad thing they're doing? They don't even know.
That's just it. But here's to consider. It goes to the concept of forgiveness, in a way. So think of it of, my intention was good to do whatever. Unfortunately, what I did caused severe harm to you, physical or otherwise. Okay?
Sure.
Do you forgive me? My
Yes.
intention was great, though. This is what I was trying to do, but unfortunately, it ruined you.
Yes, I would.
The man's got a heart of gold, folks.
No, I mean, I don't mean to be that guy that just says that and that wouldn't back it
Yeah.
up, but truly, like, if what's a good scenario? Like, if somebody, you remember that scene in Batman? Have you watched Batman, the new ones?
No, I haven't seen any of those. Or
Okay,
none
that's
of that
probably
stuff.
not a good example.
No.
If someone were trying to save my life, but accidentally shot me at the same time,
Okay.
I would absolutely forgive them for that.
Okay. Now, what about this one? Because I'm cool with what you said. Go back to the good intention piece. I laugh when you see media. They never recognize the fail. They recognize the good intention. Because they latch onto the liberal aspect. It's always, they don't, it's not the outcome, it's always the intent.
That reminds me of the Don Lemon Elon Musk interview that just happened like a week and a half ago.
Okay, something I didn't watch.
Oh, you should go check that out. We should talk about that next time.
But who cares about your damn intention? It was a fail.
I don't know if I, necessarily agree with that. I think if the intention is good and the intention is pure and they're unknowing of the failure that it could cause, I can't really fault them for it.
Like I said, heart of gold. I'm messing with you, man.
Have you ever done something like that where
I'm
you're
sure
like,
I have. I'm trying to think anything that would have been, I don't want to say catastrophic, but
even
certainly
something small though,
I'm trying to think. Last time,
like you thought it was good, and it turned out your decision wasn't properly, you weren't properly educated or whatever it may be, and it turned out to be bad. Well, you can't fault yourself completely for that.
I know that. I'm just saying the outcome is your best measuring stick. No. Versus worrying about the intention.
I don't know.
No?
I mean, I'd have to think about that one for a little bit because, again, I think if intentions are good, intentions are pure,
Sure.
and you don't know about what the bad consequence may be.
There's an innocence.
Right. I mean, and if it's true innocence, pure innocence, I can't fault anybody for that.
Fair enough.
You know, I might be doing some really stupid things, you know, feeding my kids some really stupid type of meal right now that I think is perfectly good for them, but later, 20 years from now, it causes cancer.
Don't jinx yourself, man.
Well, you know what I'm saying?
Don't put that in the universe. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
So, who knows?
Well,
All right, dude. I think we're at 2 hours almost exactly right now.
dang.
Gonna wrap it up.
I think we wrap that up. Yeah.
Cool. This was
Roger
fun.
that.
Roger that. Enjoy, everyone. Hope you liked it.
Anybody?
Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a chat.
Yeah. Anybody?
I don't think we did, dude.
Bummer.
I've been trying to look.
That's okay though. It's inevitable.
It is. At one point in time, we will get somebody watching us.
On purpose.
All right, cool. We're out. Thanks, everybody.
Toodles.